Yes, you can Google that. That Mahalia Jackson. Something bigger than you and I. This is me back again. Now I have to recapturate all the memories from my trip to Israel. I said shalom, Shabbat shalom to most of the people. I sat on the street, I sat on the tarmac, I sat on the bench. I stood beside people, all walks of life. I even made picture for them. And I said, Shalom. You see, people are condemning Israel. Even the lady that I sat with on my trip back to Norway, she condemned Israel. Maybe rightfully so. She picked out what I was talking about. I didn't talk about it, but I mentioned organization that planting trees. And she said something very gross in her eyes. So I said, every tree is a political statement. She wouldn't go that far, but she was in a way quite direct, condemning Israel, condemning her own government, her own ancestors that built up this country. So I would love to ask this lady if I get to. She was going to UK. I was going back to Norway. So maybe in the future, if we see each other again, or if she see this video, I may ask, for what reason are you in Israel? For what reason are you not becoming a citizen of Gaza, of West Bank, or Jordan, or Syria, or Egypt, or Mesopotamia? It would be quite strange if I am Norwegian and I pick out. Regarding the Jews, we have to pick out what government people did wrong to the Jews here in Norway, because they were a minority, and that was even the worst. What she mentioned, she said something about people from Palestinian side. They were uprooted, their house demolished, and they planted tree there. I said before that, I said, wouldn't it be beneficial for both parties that tree were planted? Then she came up with this story that Israel in 1948, I wouldn't call it Israel. I would regard Israel as somewhat a freedom fighter for its own country, because she didn't mention, for example, that the Palestinians, the Arabs, they worked together with the Jews during the day. and they fled to Israel, because Jews, they are very industrial. They make all sorts of things. They plant, they, they manufacture, and everything. So when the Jews came to Israel, the Arabs fled to Israel in order to get jobs, get some livelihood. And Jews gave them that. She didn't mention that. Nor did she mention that during the night, those that worked for the Jews were terrorizing them during the night. That's how cruel that was. That was how good interaction between Jews and Arabs were in the previous Palestine. Palestine was not a country, if people believe that. So people, whatever people call themselves, according to what the region was called, like this example that since the region was called by Romans Philistia, Palestine or Palestine. Palestinian can't, those people can't say P, so they say Palestine. So people doesn't know that. So she didn't mention a whole lot of things that the Jews, the Jews that came or were there from before, were terrorized by Arab hordes, tried to slaughter them, kill them. It's, yes, another word. If you read the book Borchselius, a Danish author, that was a lot of kilele here. Dogs barking. So maybe it is the topic I'm talking about. People are going around and people are afraid of dogs. And the Jews were protecting themselves against the Palestinians, the so-called Palestinians that had the Hutzvah. Hutzvah is a kind of bravery or rudeness to that. Hutzvah to call themselves Palestinian, because the area were called Philistia by the Romans. So Arafat made this genius trick, and now even among the Jews, like this lady, they have Alzheimer. I should be more brave, but I'm just kind of sitting there and listening to what she had to say. She was a teacher, she told me, a PhD obviously, in many degrees I would guess, because she also volunteered very much to the Palestinians. And that I can respect, because it is a human need, it's a human side to the Palestinians' suffering. That they blame only Israel. But this leftist. And she was saying also something about the new system that is going to be ruled, that it is going to be less democratic in Israel. So I wanted to hear her approach to that. And she only said, she didn't mention these reforms that Netanyahu were suggesting, because that is an enhancement of the democracy, polar opposite to what they say. And I have good reasons for saying that. She said that there are poor, rich, in the society of Israel. The poor and the rich. And the poor that has not that fortune have nothing to say. I don't go into details about that because I'm not Israeli. I can't answer for Israelis. It's not in my qualification to talk about how the Israeli society operates. But as she said, rightfully so, every country have its own cases to deal with. But in Israel's case, everybody is watching, observing, not only by distancing themselves, they go into the deepest case in order to find something to accuse the Israel government. Even the Israeli people that want to build and live in the so-called West Bank. That is they call them settlers or something, but they are returning. If you go to the archaeology area, the historic area of that place, they find more profoundly Jewish settlements from 2 or more thousand years ago, 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. There were Jewish settlements in Judea and Samaria. And it is regarded as the mountain of Israel. It's highland, and during the night it can be pretty cold. And I've been there several times, not this time around. I didn't go there, I went to Hebron. They call it Hebron. It's in the middle of this zone that the Palestinians govern together with the Israeli in order to have some justice there. Before Israel liberated Hebron, the Jews could only walk to a certain place outside that place to worship, to pray, to memorize their ancestors, which is put in a tomb that is called Machpelah tomb, that Abraham, Sarah, Leah, Jacob, Rachel, and Isaac is there. 6 patriarchs and matriarchs. So this time around, I went up there, and it was a pleasant trip, even though the bus was heavily protected with this bulletproof glass. They can't drive buses. The bus driver have to have pistol kind of protection, because the bus stops at every bus stop. And there can be terrorists along the road that will self-explode if they get a chance. So they have this, even buses have been shut at. People doesn't know that neither in Norway nor in the States or world at large. They don't hear it because the leftist media doesn't want to portray it in a factual way. So I will do this video short because it is I have an appointment today. I have this appointment. So what to write today? %. Jewish Israeli country. %. Many Jews reject their own ancestor. I know that in 1948, the Jews, the people that governed the country, had to do a hard decision. They had to evacuate part of the population from those that was called the Palestinians. Even the Jews back in those days were called Palestinians, but in this case it was the Arabs. They evacuated them. They returned some, of course, around 10,000, as Golda Meir told. And they had to do it because they saw that democracy of the country wouldn't be easily governed by a majority of Arabs that doesn't go with the democracy. They want to have equal rights for every individual. And those that say that Israel is apartheid, they can't vote. Yes, in Israel they can vote. Even the Arabs, they have their own parties. I think it is at least 2 parties from the Arab side, and they have been allied with some Orthodox parties in the Knesset. And this is kind of a polar opposite, that many Arabs in Israel want a Jewish state, even though the party leaders, they openly say, I'm for the destruction of the Israel country. We will never consent or agree or defend or protect or agree to the fact that Israel exists. We will the destruction of Israel. And that is openly, because people in Israel can say whatever they like as long as they keep their peace. It's okay. So they openly say, we want the destruction of the Israel, even though they are one of the parties in Israel. So that is how things are going. But my trip, back to my trip, it was 100% succeed, because it was a much needed trip. It was a trip in pure desperation. Desperation of love. Not that I was looking for something, but because that you can love someone that much, you need to flee. And maybe that is something we will need to talk more about. Like, you have to let go. You have to let go of those that you really, really love. So my friends, keep the love. Be in 100% love with those that you love. And never go away from that. Okay, shalom to everyone.